Round 1 of the 2023 Motorsport UK Five Nations British Rallycross Championship comes to you from Lydden Hill in Kent. It sees Terry Moore in the retro class starting on pole position with Tony Lynch alongside him for company and Dan Swayland on the outside of the front row. Ian Biaggi on row 2 in his classic white Mini with Simon Hart alongside him for company. Paul Buckmaster at the back of the grid on his own. Sadly no Rob Buckmaster making his way to the grid for this one. It is all eyes to the lights at the left hand side of your screen then. Green light and go. Good start from Lynchy off the front row of the grid. That rear-wheel drive MR2. The mid-engine displacement certainly helping him get good traction down towards the first corner. Terry Moore in the Mini then following him through. Great start also for Paul Buckmaster at the back of the grid as he goes past the two Mark 1 Escorts and into third place. But for how long? Because Dan Swayland there in the number 22 is really trying to get his elbows out as they come across the jump down in towards the Devil's Elbow we go. Still nose to tail between the top two here, but this battle for third place is looking pretty tasty. So Paul Buckmaster sitting there in third position for now, but here is the race lead about to change because Lynchy's on the inside line. Terry Moore in the nimble Mini then trying to find his way through around the outside. Side by side they come on the exit of the Devils on the North Bend in towards the right-hander of Paddock, and Terry Moore going around the outside then of Lynchy. Fantastic overtake here in that Mini. The agility of that machine certainly looking very, very competent here at Lydden Hill, and now you wonder whether Lynchy is going to be able to mount a retaliation as they come through Talladega. Of course, a reminder that no joker laps here in the retro classes. That's retro and also super retro because they didn't run those rules back in the day when Rallycross was around, when these cars were in their heyday. And you can see Lynchy there getting onto the gravel. It's so slippery as you come off of the jump, and this is in dry conditions for round 2 later on this bank holiday weekend. It's looking pretty horrible out there, I have to say. So hopefully we don't have any wet weather, but if we do, that will certainly make things very interesting for our drivers. Regardless, we come through the North Bend at the top of it. Here is Dan Swayland. As I said earlier on, great to see him back out in that Mark 1 Escort. It's been a little while since we last saw it, and it is always a pleasure to see these retro cars. Of course, the championship is very much run by Shirley Gibson. Rob Gibson, of course, who has a Metro 6R4. We're used to seeing that out at certain points throughout the season, and they both have a very big hand in organising all of these retro class events, and they are always a fan favourite amongst the competitors and likewise the audience who come here to watch it at the trackside at Lydden Hill as well. You can see Tony Lynch, despite those earlier dramas where he was off onto the grass almost on the inside, looks like he's managed to sort out his problems, has set a good couple of clean laps, and is now really close to the back of Terry Moore. Let's see whether he is going to be able to mount an attack before this race reaches the checkered flag. Into Paddock Bend we go. There is Terry Moore bumping his way through, slightly more sideways there for Tony Lynch as he really throws the kitchen sink at the paddock corner as he just tries everything he can to close up onto the back. He's got great confidence on the brakes coming into Talladega, into the mid-corner where that Mini though is really strong, and there you can see Moore just defending that inside line really nicely as Simon Hart comes across the timing line a little bit further back in the field. Over the jump we go. Lynchy again getting a little bit out of shape on the landing. Just cost him half a car length or two, and that is all that the breathing space that Terry Moore needs to just be able to keep into the race lead without too many dramas behind, too much pressure immediately behind him. So Tony Lynch just needs to, as I say, have a couple of clean laps and just try not to make those mistakes. It's so easy to say that though, so much more difficult to do it in practice. No such problems here for Dan Swayland as he comes through the final series of corners. We're ready to start the final lap though. It is Terry Moore in the lead of this retro class final for round 1 here, followed by Tony Lynch, and he's been able to build out a bit of a larger gap here last time around there, with Dan Swayland in a bit of no man's land but still sitting in a very comfortable third place as he slides his way through Talladega, ready to come across the jump once more for the last time into the left-hander of the Devil's Elbow. There is Lynchy. What might have been for him, I think it's going to prove to be in this race. He had good pace, was able to keep on to the back of Terry Moore, but not quite enough to deny the number 74 the race lead after he was able to get it at the start of this one. So down the bottom of the circuit we go into Paddock Bend for the final time. It is going to be the win in round one for the final in the retro class for Terry Moore in the Mini, followed by Tony Lynch in second place. A brilliant duel between those two. Dan Swalen gets it a bit wide through Paddock Bend, but holds on to a comfortable third position at the checkered flag there as well. A great drive from everybody up and down the field. Ian Biaggi coming across the line there in his classic Mini, with Simon Hart bookending the field. The exhaust almost looking like it's hanging off there at the back of his Escort as well, so I wonder whether that was costing him a bit of time as a result of that. But it is Tony Moore then who is the winner of the round one final in the retro class.